Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and this week I'm going to show you how to make an interesting one-pull print with a couple of stencils, masks, the gel plate, and some other fun tools, and put down all your layers at once, cover it with a coat of paint, and pull it all off together. So, you know, the key to gel printing is layering, 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 but nobody ever said they all had to be done separately. So, if you've got a few minutes, let's go check it out. Today's tutorial tidbit is going to be a tidbit because I am on my way to Tuscany for a month tomorrow, September 2nd, 2021. So I wanted to just get this out there so that you would have it. And I also wanted to show you some more things that you can do with my new Klimt inspired stencil and mask designs for joggles.com. And lastly, I wanted to encourage you to join me on Patreon. That link is in your upper right hand corner this month, the month of September, because I'm going to be doing video diaries as many days as possible from my month in Italy. So every single possibility, I'm going to be doing video diaries, video blogs, and you will have access to that exclusive content on Patreon. Now, my Patreon is a monthly subscription. It's month to month, and it's $25. So after the month of September, if you feel like you're done, then you are welcome to discontinue, and no hard feelings. But if you feel like after the month of September that there's lots of wonderful tutorial information in there that you'd like to take advantage of, you could stay another month. It's only month to month, no longer commitment than that. But it is going to be the video diaries from Tuscany this month of September 2021, starting on the 2nd, which is when I start to travel. And I'll be there all month. So you'll get videos from Italy all month if you join me on Patreon. Okay, so today's tidbit is going to be a one-pull print. And I've done one-pull print videos before with different combinations of stamps and stencils and things, and they're always a hit. So I thought I would show you how I would make a one-pull print with two of my newest masks from Joggles in the Klimt collection. The first one is called Rectangle Motif. This is one of two designs that I made specifically for layering. When I layer, I use geometric stencils with organic stencils and masks. So the two geometric in this set are this one that is called Leaves and this one that is called Rectangle Motif. And they are basically made to be layered and combined with the organic stencils and masks to create a wonderful combination of straight and curvilinear lines. So here's the combo that we are going to overlay today. Hopefully I can get some contrast here so you can see the two together. Well, you'll see it in progress. So this one is called Nouveau, and this one is called Rectangle Motif. And again, the Rectangle Motif and the Leaves are the two of the set that are meant to be layered and combined, rectangular and curvilinear. Okay, so geometric and organic. Yin and yang. So here we go. Okay, so the colors that I'm using today are going to be quinacridone nickel azo gold, manganese blue, and ultramarine blue. I'm going to be going from light to dark in my layering. And then I'm going to pull the print with a lighter translucent color. So I'm going to pull the print at the end with the manganese blue because it's very translucent. You can see those black tick marks through this actual swipe of paint quite clearly with the manganese. So it's pretty translucent, and it's going to be my last layer that I'm going to pull everything else with. The other layers that I'm going to put down, I'm going to work from light to dark. So in that case, I'm going to start with, probably the one of these two are pretty close. If you look at the tick marks between the ultramarine and the quinacridone magenta, you can sort of see them pretty equally. Maybe the quinacridone a little bit more. And then the last one before the manganese pull is going to be the iridescent bright gold fine. You can see the tick marks at this angle, but you'll notice that when you turn a metallic to the light, it becomes pretty opaque. So a metallic will stand up off of a dark color because of the iridescence of it and the opaque nature of it when it's turned to the light. So those are our colors, golden fluid acrylics. I'm also using my mini domed ink blender foam and my mini ink blender tool. That's a big mouthful for a small tool. There's two of them. These are the Ranger mini ink blenders. They I had been using them with flat foam, which is fine. It works fine, but it does give you the edge of the circle. A lot of the time when you're tapping, you get like the edge of the circle. So what I found recently is the domed blending foam. So these refills, let's open this up. These are courtesy of joggles.com, the tools and the foam refills. So the rounded foam refill, when you tap with this, you round and round, and you don't get that hard edge because of the dome. So this gives us a more organic blending with the domed foam. Say that 5 times fast. So I'm going to use 2 different colors. So to make my life easier, I'm going to use 2 different tools with 2 different domes. You can, of course, use 2 different colors with 2 different tops. You could take it off and replace it. You can rinse it out and start over with the second color. But because I bought, Joggles sent me these in a pack of 2. So I have 2 tools, and I'm going to use 2 colors. Okay, so my gel plate is my, one last thing. I've got new foam stamps that I designed for with Art Foamies, and they were in conjunction with my current online class. And so the link for, well, let me go back. The link for Mini Ink Blender is going to be in the description below. The link for the Art Foamies stamps is in your upper right-hand corner. That's going to be on my website. You can see this is from a blossoms pack. I've also got oversized birds and oversized branches. They're lots of fun, but these are just the blossoms pack that I'm going to use on the Dina Wakley 9x11 gel plate today. And the Dina Wakley gel plate, that link is going to be below the video. That's also something you can get at Joggles, along with the mini ink blenders and the domed foam, and these are going to be in the upper right hand corner on my website. So, and lastly, the stencils are also from Joggles, and that link will be below. Okay, now that we're all linked up, I've got some very, very wet folded up paper towel here, and it's pretty soaked, so that when I'm done using my stamps with my acrylic paint on it, I'm going to put them face down into this moisture so that the paint does not dry before I get a chance to wash them off. The other thing that I'm going to be using is, this is also made by Art Foamies. This is my Scrap Buddy. It's foam that I'm going to put paint into, and I'm going to use this tool to ink up my stamp with fluid acrylics. So I'm just going to squirt fluid acrylics into my Scrap Buddy, and I'm going to dab it on here. And this will work with any size shape of a foam stamp, which is nice. So instead of trying to fit it into an ink pad, you get to use your fluid acrylics. You have exactly the color that you want, and you just dab it on here, and that's the Scrap Buddy. You'll find that in the same place you find the stamps on my website in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, so we got the Scrap Buddy, but you want to have this wet paper towel surface so you can put your stamps face down onto that until you can wash them and get the paint off. And you want to keep them down so that the paint stays wet, because once acrylic paint dries, there's no getting it off. What I do like to clean the surface of these, though, is my scrubby citrus soap bar. So I use this to not only to clean my hands most of the time. It's a nice glycerin and citrus. It smells like orange, and it moisturizes your hands. It doesn't dry them out. But what I also love for this is getting the final paint off the surface of my foam stamps. You just run this under the water, and it lathers through this foam. What do you call it? Like a scrubby surface, and then you're just going to scrub and get it so it lathers and foams up, and it'll clean that paint, the residual paint, off of your foam stamps. And this is scrubby, but it's not so gritty that it's going to chew this surface up. It's like the perfect level of scrub, so that it won't chew this surface up, and which is why it's great for your hands, because it's not killing your hands. It's just enough scrub to get the paint off. So that's going to be the scrubby, and that is on my Amazon shopping list in the upper right-hand corner. It comes in a pack of 2, and they are really great. I love them, and definitely use them for the foam stamps with much success. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the domed blender, the 2 domed blenders, and I'm going to use the 2 colors, the ultramarine blue, and I lied. I've got another color that I'm going to use with that, is dioxidine purple. Now, dioxidine purple is super, super, super black. It's just so dark that you can't really see the tick marks through it here, but I think that that's less because it's opaque and more because the level of the color is nearly the same as the black tick marks themselves. But this is a super dark color. The beauty of this color is if you add white to it, it goes all the way up to an Easter purple, a very light Eastery purple, all the way down to almost black. So this is a very versatile color, dioxidine purple. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to put the, just going to squirt some of the purple out onto my palette sheet right here, and a little bit more than you think you need because the foam absorbs some of it. And I'm going to put the Nouveau mask down on the 9x11 Dina Weekly gel plate, and I'm using this because it's going to fill my 9x12 paper really nicely, and it's going to use all of my 9x12 mask really nicely. So I like this size of this gel plate. So I'm going to dab my blender into the dioxidine purple, and now I'm going to come through here, and I'm just going to do the spirals, or whatever section, of this stencil that you would like to put on specifically. So I'm doing the spirals. And you need to use a little more paint than you think you do, because we want to make sure this is nice and dark and it shows up. So I'm going to come back and come over here and do these spirals. And then I think I'll do some of these circles right here. So I'm just going to do sections of this mask. I'm not going to do the whole thing because I want to leave room for a couple of other techniques. If the spirals are your favorite part and you want to put them in another area, then we're just going to lift this stencil up, the mask, and take the spirals and move them and do them again. Now, see, this I didn't put on heavy coverage, and it's a little light. So let's see if we can line that back up. Lining it up is probably near impossible, but that's close. And let's make sure we get some more paint coverage in there. And then if I wanted to move this and put another spiral somewhere else, I could do that. But I think I'm gonna, why not? Let's just, I don't want to mess up what I just put there. So let's put the circles. Since it doesn't cause me to have to overlap this, I'll do these 2 spirals and a little bit of that circle line. Okay, so now I've got 3 sort of rolling areas here. So in order to break that up a little bit, I'll put a little bit here. There we go. And a little bit here. Whoops, we shifted a little bit there. Okay, so now that I've blotted the paint on the top of this mask, there is a decent amount of paint on it. So I've got a cleanup sheet over here off to the side that I've been rolling gold off my brayer on. So I'm going to put it face down on that, and I'm going to take a clean brayer and just do this to get the majority of the paint off because we dabbed it on pretty thick. So this cleans the stencil for all intents and purposes without you having to put it in the water. You could also put it in a warm soapy basin, but this way I'm pressing off. It generally doesn't make an amazing print, but it'll get some of the paint off, and it's a brayer cleanup sheet, so it's going to become its own good print or a base for a good print. So we are going to be letting that dry. You can then pull off with the Velcro and wash this domed foam if you get to it quickly. So another reason, if you had a warm soapy basin, you could pull this off and throw it in the water. So that way this can be reused. Let's see. So I've got my second tool, and I'm going to come in with my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to do a little bit of a second pass on this spiral stencil. So I'm going to do a little bit in here. So I'm going to give myself the ultramarine blue and go in a little heavier than you think you might need. There we go. And coming over here, the foam tends to absorb some of the paint, so you have to get a little bit more than you think. And by now the first layer is pretty dry, which is why I can overlay it without too much trouble. And I'm just grabbing the spirals because they are my favorite part. And I'm just putting them sort of where I think they would work. I want to leave myself some room to do some stamping, so I think that's all I'm going to do. So again, I'm going to put the stencil onto that same sheet and brayer over those spirals and transfer a little bit of paint, clean it up a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the quinacridone magenta. I'm going to put that out on my palette sheet. I'm going to take my Scrap Buddy and I'm going to put the paint into the foam, and I'm going to take my foam stamp and make sure I've got good paint coverage on it. And then I'm going to stamp it into some of the open areas. That one, and a little more paint. Let's see, they're beading up a little bit because this has got a little water in it from when I was cleaning it. So I'm going to flip the end. I put it on the wet paper towel to keep it damp, and it's putting a little water on the surface of the stamp. So I'm going to switch to the clean end. There we go. That's a little better. And I've got several of these, so let's get a different one. This one is pretty. I'm going to stamp that over here on my cleanup sheet to make sure that the surface of it is dry. Look at how beautiful my cleanup sheet is. And I'm going to put a little more paint just right in this, directly into my Scrap Buddy, and then get a good surface coverage here. And I'm going to be pressing that into some of the open spaces, and there's not that many of them here, so we could have left a little bit more open spaces, but that's all right. This all comes with practice. So I'll put that in there. And this one is fun, but I don't have any more room, I think. So I think I'm good with that. So I'm going to make sure all these stamps that have been used are face down onto the wet paper towel. I'm going to put the Scrap Buddy face down into the wet paper towel. That way they'll stay moist until I can clean them. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rectangle motif mask and I'm going to brayer through it some iridescent gold, so the metallic. So I'm just giving this a minute to dry a little better. So this is the point where you can go and get a drink and let the dog out and come back. So I'm just gonna speed things up a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna put the rectangle motif mask right over that, and I'm going to squirt out a little bit of gold onto my palette sheet, and I'm going to roll my big brayer into the paint. So I'm just rolling the brayer into the paint on the palette sheet and getting paint on the brayer. So I'm just getting gold paint on the brayer, and then I'm going to roll that right on top of and through this mask. And you can roll it really solid, and then I'm going to roll it out here to clean it. You can lay in a bunch of paint, or you can just lay in lightly, and you get these great gold rectangular patterns. And I picked up a little bit of magenta on my palette, so in parts it's a little bit of magenta gold. Now again, I've got paint on here. It's not going to transfer very well, but here's another cleanup sheet. I'm going to put that over there, and this is more for cleaning it, getting the paint off and cleaning it, but we all know that cleanup sheets can oftentimes be some of the most interesting stuff we've created. So thus far, I've created some interesting things with my cleanup sheet. So our last layer is to use that really translucent manganese blue to coat the whole thing and pull one solid print. And the best paper for that one solid print is going to be your 9x12 rice paper pad, the Sumi E sketch paper. And I don't have the pad with the cover out here, but it's the Sumi E sketch paper, 9x12. It's going to be, let me find a sheet of it here somewhere. It's going to be a very durable paper, rice paper. It's not going to tear. It's not going to stick to this and tear. It will stick to this if it does stick to your plate. There's two reasons. You're not using enough paint and the climate is warm, or both. Because if you don't use enough paint and it starts to dry by the time you put your paper in it, it's going to stick. And if that's happening, then you may be working in a warm climate or underneath a fan or an AC vent. And if it does stick to this plate, then you need to use more paint, a thicker application of paint, and work a little faster. Okay? So if you have sticking issues with this rice paper pad, the Sumi E sketch pad, and that's on my Amazon shopping list, link in the upper right-hand corner, the 9x12 Sumi E sketch pad, you're going to use the smooth side, and that's the side that faces up in the pad. The smooth side is going to go down into your print. The back side is a little rough, and that's more likely to stick to the plate. So you're always going to feel for that smooth side, and that side is going to go down onto the plate. But if it sticks, then you need to use more paint and less time. Move faster, pick up the pace, and use a little bit more paint. Okay, so I'm talking while I'm waiting for this to dry. So I'm going to take that highly translucent color, that manganese blue, and that's going over this whole thing. Now I'm going to do it with the big brayer, the 6-inch speedball brayer, and I need to make sure that that is clean. So I'm going to roll it off over here and make sure I'm not going to get any gold into my blue. So I've not got anything transferring anymore. So I'm going to put that manganese blue over there generously, and I'm going to roll it across the entire multi-layers that we've just put down. And then I'm going to roll it off, get that paint off of it, set it aside, and take my 9x12 sturdy Sumi E sketch rice paper from the pad, smooth side down. So lining that up, because this plate is nearly the same size as this sheet of paper, which is great because we're going to get the most coverage in our print. So we're going to really get some good pressure here around all the outer edges. Slide this over here. And pull. Now, if you have little bits of paint, dried stuff like I do, you're going to get little spots that don't pull up. But it doesn't matter, because look at how beautiful this came out. So here is your one pull, layered, multi-layered print with the rectangle motif, the Nouveau mask, the foam Art Foamies stamps, and the layering on the gel plate, on the 9x11 gel plate. So look at that. That is really a beautiful, complex layers all in one pull. Happy Friday, and thank you for being here.